Welcome back, everybody. Driver53 here with another short video on precision farming in Farming Simulator 19. And today we're going to be looking at corn. That's right, corn. We want to see what the target pH levels are, what the target nitrogen levels are, what the reduction at harvest on the nitrogen is, and how much you're left with. So I've got 4 rows planted right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map. So as you can see, these are our soil types right here. We have loam, sandy loam, silty clay, and loamy sand. And you can see right here, I'm planted a row in each one. Now I also went and put fertilizer, liquid fertilizer in while I was planting, so all of those are already there too. But let's take a look at the pH. As you can see, pH is right where it needs to be. For silty clay, it's 7.0. For loam, it's 6.75. For sandy loam, it is 6.5. And for loamy sand, it is 6.0. Now, I've got something interesting to show you with the nitrogen. With nitrogen, it doesn't go in order of percentage yield. So in percentage yield, we think that loam is going to give us 125%. So that's at 200. Our 180 level is actually in silty clay, which is only supposed to give us 90% yield. Then at 160, we come back up to 100 yield. And then at 140, we have nothing. And 120, we have what would give us 80%, which is loamy sand. So we're going to go ahead and turn all these back on. And I found that really, really interesting. This is the first crop that they're switched. Typically, everything is... as you go down the yield percentages, you go down or equal to the nitrogen level. But in this one, you go from 125 to 100, and it's a big jump because the 90 is between those two. So really, really interesting. I want to keep an eye on that. But that's everything right there. So we're going to go ahead and speed up time here. There we go, to 120, and let this crops grow. I'll get the correct header on the harvester over there, and we will get these harvested, and I'll be back for that. The corn is ready to be harvested now, so let's go ahead and fire up the harvester here. We're gonna lower it down, turn it on, and let's get going. Let's see if I can get it all in one pass here. This header is just the right width. I don't have a whole lot of extra room here on this one. That one worked pretty good. So what we're expecting here on this area right here in the loamy sand is going to be 80%. Now what we're expecting here on the sandy loam is going to be 100%. Even though the nitrogen level is a little bit different, we're still expecting 100% on this. I didn't get all that, and it's all right. So now we're going to be getting over into the loam. And with loam, we should see 125%. There we go. Man, this header is just not quite wide enough to do what I wanted to do perfectly. And now over here on the silty clay, we are expecting to see 90%. Alright, so as soon as we're done here, we're going to turn everything off and take a look at the maps. So perfect. There's that. There's that. Alright, so here are our soil types once again. We have silty clay, loam, sandy loam, and loamy sand. Loamy sand should be the lowest at 80, and loam should be the highest at 125. So here's the yields. Awesome. So if we go down here, we can see that at 125, that's our loam. The next is going to be 100. Oops, 100. All right, so that worked out perfect. And then 90, perfect. And then 80. So corn grows exactly the same as everything else does. And that's one part of this test. So we're going to go ahead and turn all these back on. So far, all the crops we've tested, I don't see that any of them have a preferred soil type other than loam, and they all follow the exact same. So next thing we're going to take a look at here is going to be the pH. And the pH did exactly the same thing as what the other ones have done. Our 7.0 here turned into 6.75. Our 6.75 turned into 6.5. Our 6.5 turned into 6.25. And our 6 here turned into 5.75. And that's exactly the same, consistent with every other crop that we've done. So now we're going to take a look at nitrogen. Now this one's going to be the really interesting one, because if you remember, the nitrogen started with loam at 200, then it went down to 160 on the next one, and then silty clay was actually back up. So our third highest yield was actually our second highest nitrogen level. So let's take a look here. All right, so we're gonna get rid of the zeros. We're gonna get rid of 20. Okay, so everything's still there. What about 40? Everything is still there. What about 60? Wow. So 3 of them still have 60 nitrogen left in the ground, and silty clay has 80. That is very interesting, because you would think that loam would have the highest because it had the highest amount of nitrogen to begin with at 200. So if we look at our crop type or our soil types again, you can see that the sandy loam, the loamy sand, and the loam all ended with 60 points of nitrogen right here. And the silty clay had 80. Man, this is so weird. So weird. So on loam, we had a reduction of 140 points. That means 140 points of, 140 kilograms of nitrogen came out of the soil at harvest time, and you're left with 60. Now, for the next one, for sandy loam, you can see that we had 100 points of nitrogen come out of the ground, and you're left with 60. Then for silty clay, we actually also had 100 points come out, but since it was higher to start with, it's higher again. So it's 80 points that you're left with, and 100 came out. Man, this is so interesting. And then on loamy sand, that's right? Yeah, loamy sand, you had 60 points come out of the harvest, and you're left with 60. That is so interesting. That is a really big spread. I mean, I guess not, because if you look at it, your number 1 producer was 140 points came out. Your number 2 and number 3s at 190 had 100 points come out. And then your number 4 producer had 60 points come out. It's just really interesting that if you're using silty clay, you're going to have a lot more nitrogen left over than if you're using the other 3 soil types. So corn could be a really good crop to put in. I mean, it's just the yield, right? The yield is the kicker there, because you're only going to be left with 90% yield. And we can see that again here. So you're going to have more nitrogen in the ground if you're using silty clay over loamy sand, right? Sandy loam. So sandy loam is going to give you better yield, but silty clay is going to give you more nitrogen left over. It's very interesting. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the slides. The first one is the target nitrogen levels. And like I said, this is a little bit backwards on 2 of them. But on loam, you're going to have 200. Sandy loam, 160. Silty clay is going to be a little bit higher at 180. And then loamy sand is going to be at 120. This is the first crop I've seen in my testing that's like that. And this is consistent with the numbers that I saw from the data. Next, we have the nitrogen reduction at harvest. So on loam, we have 140 points. Sandy loam, we have 100 points. Silty clay, we also have 100 points. And then loamy sand, we have 60 points. It's a little bit different than the numbers that we saw on the data, but the research data that I found. But it's consistent with everything else. It makes sense. It completely does. And then the nitrogen after harvest, we're going to be left with 60 on loam. Sandy loam is 60. Silty clay, you're at 80 though. And then on loamy sand, 60 again. So yeah, corn is another really interesting one. I mean, it's nothing that's going to make me want to have to do any more testing, I don't feel. I mean, the data is good. You're not gaining extra. I mean, except for, I mean, it's just not taking out as much, right? But since you had nitrogen and it was higher, you're still getting a reduction. So to me, it's okay. If anybody feels like there's anything else that needs to be tested on corn, definitely throw it down in the comments below. But I think that's going to be it, everybody. If you liked the video or you learned something today, go and give me a thumbs up. If you want to be kept up to date on all of my future precision farming videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell also, because I do put out multiple videos a day right now. I got a bunch of other content too. I do map tours. I do a little bit of Let's Play stuff, some challenges. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely share it around. I just want to say have a great day, everybody. Until next time, this is Driver 53, signing off.